warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching FRP Explains. I'm Frankrausanpereira. Now, since you're here, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share the content so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Well, New Delhi can now breathe a sigh of relief after an extremely successful G20 Leaders Summit over the weekend. India took over the presidency of the grouping at a challenging time last year when the world was divided over the Ukraine war. Over the last 9 odd months, India has navigated through high rhetoric and a difficult phase in geopolitics. Looking back, the whole nation should be proud in what we have achieved. Now, India has been able to transform proceedings and priorities and has given the world something to ponder about. India's presidency has put tremendous pressure on Brazil, the next G20 president, and the rest of the members to perform at a high level. With over 200 plus meetings in 60 different locations across the country, India has shown the world what it is capable of, something that is going to be tough to replicate. The G20 presidency has been, a festival of sorts for India. Foreign policy is a crucial part of any nation's progress. However, it is something that is difficult for the masses and the common man to understand, or is just, beyond their priority list. But every Indian has been connected with India's presidency and now knows what the G20 is all about. This I see as a major victory for India. Now, talking about victories, another significant achievement has been the Delhi Declaration. Several experts and analysts were skeptical about consensus being reached on the declaration because, of the Ukraine war, because of the absence of two big leaders like President Putin and Xi Jinping as well. But we managed it and thus showcased our diplomatic nuance and how we can handle these complex issues and matters. Now, not just the summit and the declaration, but even the bilaterals and plurilaterals on the sidelines threw light on India's foreign policy priorities and the nature of our relationship with other actors or other nations as well. Right from the start, we focused on taking everyone along. The Global South Summit in January 2023, I think it was the 12th of January 2023, set the tone for things to come. Now, the world is experiencing an expanding polarization that can be characterized as East and West, and that divide is, of course, widening. And we are also witnessing a reduction of the gap between the North and South divide. This is where India has played a major role in bringing the global South to the center stage. People who were, sitting outside and protesting about what's happening in major groupings, what are they discussing, what are we missing out on, are today actually sitting inside those meetings. Now, that's a structural change that India has brought about by expanding and opening doors for others, especially countries in the global South. Thanks to India, the grouping is no longer G20 but G21 with the inclusion of the African Union. This comes as a major win since a message has now been sent to the African nations that we are with them, and through this we managed to stay true to the tagline of G20, which is one earth, one family, one future. Now, so what's clearly visible on the global stage is that the world acknowledges that India has arrived. Whatever India says today matters and it is taken into account. And why it happens is because India is the largest country in the world in terms of population, the largest in terms of democracy, and also the fastest growing major economy in the world. FDI has gone up in India. Several big wigs are calling India a bright star really as far as growth is concerned, and this is something that has propelled us in the global arena and is reflected in the G20 as well. Now, yes, the Chinese and Russian presidents, like I mentioned earlier, not being present for the Leaders Summit was a bit of a disappointment, but it didn't really take away the success of the summit. Both leaders, for reasons known to everyone, were trying to prove their rigid point, which wasn't paid heed to by anyone at the G20. Now, that having been said, it is something that we have to be concerned about. Geography is something that we can't change. And after Xi Jinping gave the summit a miss, and China's latest cartographic aggression, link of that video I'm going to put in the description below about what China's latest map offensive is all about. This is clear now that we have to face a defiant China. The border offensive is concerning for India, and that is something that we have to be wary about and watch out for. The only way to tackle China is to deal with Beijing with a firm hand, ensuring that we don't rub her the wrong way while doing so. Meanwhile, Russia poses a different kind of a challenge. The public sentiment is still warm towards Moscow, and there is no real animosity amongst the leadership. But India's shift towards the US is evident and is the need of the hour as well, and that could cause some long term and medium term complications as well. How India's diplomacy rises to the occasion will determine the future course of relations between the two old friends. Well, we saw an example of this over the weekend during the G20 summit when India offered Russia a face saver on the international stage, even though everyone else was against Moscow. Well, under the circumstances mentioned just now or earlier in the program, we have carried out the presidency in style and have managed to do what no one else has done before. Healing, harmony, and hope is the message that India has sent out to the world, and this at a time when the globe is getting vertically divided. What India has done successfully is set the tone for the future and showcased itself on one of the grandest stages of them all. With that, I'll call it a wrap on this edition of FRP Explains. But since you're here, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share the content as well so that more people get to know about Bharata first. Not just that, do contribute to keep our content alive. A small contribution that you make will go a long way in us bringing you this content. The contribution link is in the description below. Please do whatever you can. That's it from me. See you again next time.